and welcome. This is the meeting of the Buckeye Local Schools Board of Education. This is Tuesday, February 12th. This is our regular monthly meeting, and it is 6:59. We're early tonight. Roll call, please.
Sparko?
Here.
Goldman?
Here.
Manson?
Here.
Kabarchi? Here. Stahl?
Here.
Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. There is a flag up in the back wall. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Buckeye Local School District's mission is to empower students to excel in a highly competitive society. Meeting agenda statement. This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is a time for public participation during the meeting as indicated on the agenda. Approval of minutes. Recommend that the Buckeye Board of Education approve the minutes for the special and regular meeting of January 2nd, 2019, January 8th, 2019, January 26th, 2019, and January 28th, 2019. A motion, please.
And just for clarity, that is organizational and record retention, so we did make that correction right before the meeting for January 2nd.
Thank you.
And that's reflected in digital.
Yes, so moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments on those minutes? Roll call.
Kabarchi?
Yes.
Sparko?
Yes.
Manson?
Yes.
Stahl?
Yes.
Goldman?
Yes. Recommendation statement. Following our recommendations that have been identified for approval as part of the consent agenda for this meeting. If a board member wishes to remove any item from the agenda for further discussion prior to taking action, please let either the superintendent or the board president know. Recommend that the Buckeye Board of Education approve the consent agenda of February 12, 2019 as presented. A motion, please.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Any comments? Roll call.
Manson? Kabarchi?
Yes.
Stahl?
Yes.
Sparko?
Yes.
Goldman?
Yes. Mr. Morgan, special guest?
Yes, we have our students of the month that we'd like to recognize. If our administrators would come forward and introduce your students of the month.
Good evening. I'm Helena, principal of the Intermediate Building. It's my honor to introduce you to Miranda Pesto. She's a 5th grader at the Intermediate. And here's what her teachers had to say about her. Miranda is extremely conscientious, responsible, respectful, and is fun to be around. She has a good sense of humor that she shares with staff and her peers alike. Miranda is blossoming as the year progresses, and we are very proud of her. We are lucky to have her in class. Congratulations.
Student of the month, and Mrs. Burgess did a very nice write-up. I have to say I agree with everything in here. Kara Goodwin is a 3rd grade student in my classroom. I chose Kara as Student of the Month for many reasons. Kara is a hardworking student in the classroom who comes to school each day. with a positive attitude and an eagerness to learn. She enjoys helping others and will go out of her way to ask if there's anything she can do to help me. Her smile is infectious and lights up a room. Just being around Kara makes me happy. In the classroom, Kara demonstrates responsibility by always being on task and ready to learn, turning in her assignments on time and actively participating in class discussions and doing her very best each and every day. Kara is respectful towards her teachers and classmates by being kind and polite to them. She remembers her manners and can always be heard saying please and thank you. I'm so lucky to have Kara in my classroom this year. She's a remarkable young lady who will continue to be an excellent role model in school. She's a pleasure to teach and sets a great example every day by following the Buckeye basics. For these reasons and many more, selecting Kara for Student of the Month was an easy decision. And I hear you're carrying on the tradition that your mother was Student of the Month. Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
We do have the photo of the
Good evening, I'm Mr. Flood, I'm the principal at the junior high, and with me this evening is Jamie Depew. And every single month we ask our teams to nominate a student, and this month was Jamie, and Team 1 recognized her, and they had a few nice words, obviously, that they wrote up about her that I'm going to present her with tonight, but I'd like to read what they wrote. Jamie is a positive student with an awesome smile. Jamie is what we call a quiet leader. She always shows up on time, leads by example, and demands excellence of herself. She has recently been selected as a peer mediator at the junior high and is a member of Stand By Me, which obviously Mrs. Goodwin knows about, being that she runs that club. Jamie is kind to others and shows her kindness in many ways at school, helping others, offering her friendship, and smiling at everyone. Jamie has big goals in life that she wants to continue on to medical school and either be a doctor or a nurse, correct? She enjoys softball, and her favorite subject in school, unfortunately, is not math, it's language arts. Jamie is a true asset to Buckeye Junior High, and Team 1 is proud to name her as our Student of the Month.
Good evening, I'm Kevin Jacob. I'm the principal at Buckeye High School. We actually have two students here to recognize this evening. Maybe I'll start with Brock because he's not here, so we'll get to it quick and spend more time on him. One of our students, unfortunately, in the month, we're continuing our trend of recognizing students who have other places to be on Tuesday night. Our first student being recognized is Brock Brumfield. Brock is actually a member of our boys varsity basketball team, and they are playing over at Parma Heights tonight against the Valley Forge Patriots, so he was a little preoccupied playing the game this evening. Couldn't get out of it, unfortunately. But Brock is actually one of the first students I had the great privilege of meeting as I started as the principal of Buckeye High School. He and another player, Cam Imes, were in the building doing some summer shooting, and they were the first two guys that I met. And besides his bad choice of shoes wearing LeBrons, and I haven't forgiven LeBron yet, Brock apparently has. He impressed me right away with his graciousness and his kindness and his extreme maturity for a high school senior. Not many kids are eagerly ready to walk into the office and shake the hand of the new principal and introduce themselves and welcome them to the new school the way Brock and Cam did. And I can say from that point in time, Brock has continued to impress as a leader. Brock was nominated by one of his peers to receive this award this month because of how positive he is and how much of a leader he is amongst the student body. He's gracious with everybody that he comes into contact with, adults, students, and everybody else in between. Brock has also battled some adversity this year. He was injured during one of our football games against Firelands, had a rather serious knee injury, really put his senior year in basketball in jeopardy, but he got some good news, got things to break his way, and rehabbed incredibly hard to be prepared to play for the basketball season. He is a member of the first team All-Pac Conference as a junior, hoping to repeat that honor again as a senior. He takes a challenging course load this year, including our Honors Pre-Calc program and our AP Psychology course. He is currently serving as a member of the varsity basketball team, as I mentioned, where he's a captain of the team. He consistently goes above and beyond to make sure that he represents Buckeye in a great way. So congratulations to Brock, and we'll make sure we get him his awards tomorrow. This is Maddie Hellwig. Maddie is also a senior at Buckeye High School, and during the time of getting to meet Maddie this year, I've been consistently impressed with Maddie and how kind as well as she is to everybody that comes into place. Maddie is a young woman of character, and I think that is exemplified in each and every one of the things that she involves herself with, from huddle to key club, to being involved in her church service organization as a Luther leader. I believe is the correct title. And if you start to talk to Maddie a little bit, you get to realize how important service of others is important to her. She's planning on going to Ohio University next year. That's what we're going for, right? Yeah. I'm pushing Ohio University, where she wants to study marine biology. So OU might not be the best bet in that regard. Not very water-oriented down there. Maddie also has taken a very challenging curriculum while at OU, at Buckeye High School. Currently enrolled in AP Psychology and Environmental Sciences, has completed AP Physics, AP US History, and taken pre-calc before in the past. She is number 23 in the graduating class this year, so she's obviously a very successful student in the classroom. Also involved in some great activities, was a member of the varsity soccer team this year, one of our highest performing teams of all time. Also a member of our stage crew for our upcoming production of Mamma Mia. Anything good that happens on stage is usually the result of a really strong group of people behind the stage setting it up, which Maddie is one of. Maddie is one of the best that we have to offer. I know she's very family-oriented and very proud of her family and talks about them quite often, so it's very nice to see you guys here tonight. So, Maddie, thank you for everything that you do and for being a great asset to Buckeye High School.
We're going to take a 10-minute standing break so we can take some photos of our students of the month. All right, we're going to continue down with the treasurer's report.
Recommend that the Buckeye Board of Education accept the treasurer's report as presented, including all internal budgets, amended certificates, and appropriations to the county auditor as outside the treasurer's office, which is Appendix A. Repayment agreements. Recommend that the Buckeye Board of Education approve the repayment agreements as submitted from Appendix B.
A motion, please.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any questions for the treasurer? Thank you again for your update. It's always good to get the plain people explanation of this. Roll call, please.
Greco?
Yes.
Havarti?
Yes.
Stahl?
Yes.
Mattson?
Yes. This is the time in our meeting for public participation. The public is invited to speak to any of the agenda items and other school topics. Comments should be limited to 3 minutes. Direct questions will not be answered by the Board of Education members at this time. However, answers will be given at a later date as appropriate. Is there anyone who wishes to speak tonight? Yes, Mrs. Niddle.
Okay, yes, I see on the agenda tonight that you're going to be voting on Claudia Davis for her retirement. And I just want to say that I can personally say that she's been a very loyal and a great Buckeye employee for 20 plus years. I think she's around 28 years. I've worked with her personally in my resource room for the last 6 years, She's been wonderful. She probably deserves an award for working with me for 6 years. But she has been wonderful with the children, very kind, considerate, very good employee.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I just want, I see Henrietta Wood sitting over there, and I also want to thank Henrietta for her years of service here in Buckeye. I know I've always loved working with her and have come to depend on her, and I want you to know, Henrietta, you will be missed. Thank you.
I'll have something to say about Henrietta. So, any other public participation? Seeing none, we'll continue with the superintendent's informational items.
We have two administrative presentations today. First up is Mr. Flood with our junior high.
Thank you. So tonight I was asked to present on this, and one of the people that I asked to come up with me is David Parrish. And the reason why is, and I'll have him stuff here in a few minutes, but last year at this time, he was working with many of the different careers and the Career Center and with our school and listening to many of the companies throughout really Medina County, am I right in saying that? That what they wanted and what they needed out of their employees. So he came down to me last year, we sat down and we were talking and we were like, what are things that students are missing each and every single day that they're not walking away from our school system with, that we know with 100% certainty that this is what they have, and this is what they're going to walk away from here, and they're going to believe in these three types of things. So he brought down a list of words that each of these companies said, here's the things that we're trying to employ in our businesses. Here's the things that we want our people coming to us with each and every single day. And I said, well, these are the same types of things that we're obviously trying to instill with our kids all of the time. So this year at Buckeye Junior High, we actually started something, and it's called What's Your Job? And every single day, we're talking with our students. Our teachers are talking with our students and getting behind what's your job. With that being said, what's your job? The three major components that we really wanted to talk about and emphasize in our building, and I think it makes sense in our workforce when we look and we think about the many things that we're trying to do and employ with people. It's number one, having a can-do attitude. Every single morning I get up and I listen to a podcast. And that podcast, when I listen to that podcast, it's trying to get my mind right and trying to get it in the right frame of mind. And just yesterday, I actually listened to, it was Justin Sua is the gentleman that I listened to. It's a 3 to 4 minute podcast in the morning. And the one yesterday it was talking about, again, getting your mind right. And it said, every single day, every single second of every single day, your mind can consume 1,200 bits of information per second. Yet our mind can only process 40 bits of information per second. Of the 40 bits of information that we process, if you're a glass half full type of person, you're going to take in more positive information. If you're a glass half empty type of person, you're going to have a negative influence on those 40 bits of information. So with that, we're trying to influence our kids every single day about having a can-do attitude. If they have this can-do attitude when they come into our building, when they go into their classes, and they give it their best, regardless of how smart they might be, they're going to have the best, obviously, attitude possible. When they leave our district one day, they're going to have the best attitude possible, and that's what our employees obviously are looking for with our students. The next thing that we're trying to do is work on the communication piece. Obviously, I think that goes without saying, but we're not just talking about communicating verbally. We're talking about communicating by writing our teachers through an email and saying, they didn't understand this problem last night. How can I get help? Or I'm really struggling here. How can I get help? Or finding a way to communicate to get help. The last piece of information is the problem-solving piece of it, and we're trying to get our students to constantly think about problem-solving and how can they, if something's not going their way. You know, I used to, in my classroom, talk to students and say, you know, you're going to hit the wall. When you hit the wall, do you climb the wall? Do you go around the wall? Do you push the wall over? Or do you retreat? That's problem solving in a nutshell right there. And those are the things that we're really trying to work on with our students all the time. So when we talk about having a can-do attitude, and I know that's hard to read, but throughout this year, we brought in different speakers into our building to work with our students to talk about some of these employable skills, to talk about the 3 things that we just talked about doing your job. So the first person that we had come in this year was Reverend Cornell Carter. The thing that struck me about Reverend Cornell Carter is when he came in, he was actually up in Cuyahoga County. He was the county prosecutor up there. When he was there, he said, you know, I was a lawyer, I was prosecuting people, and we had a business that went out. And when I was there, and that business went out of business, he said, the people that were homeless tried to move into that business. And when they were moving into that business, he said, I didn't like that. He goes, I was trying to get those people out. He goes, that was like my job. I couldn't have these people going into these businesses and creating problems for me. So he goes, I'm trying to get them out. So I'm telling the mayor, hey, Mayor Jackson, we're going to get these people out. He said, a few years later, Mayor Jackson hires me to be his aide. So he goes, all of a sudden, I'm his advisor and I'm advising him. Now all of a sudden, I'm like, Mayor Jackson, this doesn't make sense for you. You probably shouldn't be getting rid of these people. I've gone down there, I've seen what they're doing. And he goes, now all of a sudden I was a person that was conflicted. He goes, I was a person that was making $150,000 a year, and I was conflicted because I wasn't sure who I was. I eventually had to realize who I was. He goes, I gave up that law degree. I gave up working for the mayor. He goes, I turned it in to become a reverend so that I now work with people to find them shelter, to be that problem solver, to work on the communication piece. He goes, but I had to know who I was. I had to have a can-do attitude. So that was the very first thing that we were talking about with our students. The next one that we had come in this year, and many of the Buckeye community knows Seth Kuyat. Seth came in and he talked about the communication piece. He said the biggest influence he had was he went to college. When he got done with college, again, he was a Buckeye graduate here. He graduates from Buckeye, goes to college, wasn't sure, was this really what he wanted to do? And said he comes home, he said his dad was like, hey Seth, like, congratulations. And he said his mom was like, hey Seth, where are you working? And he goes, I had to start like paying back all these bills. He goes, my mom's like, get a job. He goes, my dad, thankfully, problem solved a little bit, communicated, and called one of his friends and said, hey, we're going to get you a tool belt. You're going to go out and you're going to learn how to roof. So he said he starts roofing. Long story short, he told us that he roofed one house in every state across the United States. House across everywhere. Obviously that took communication. He had to get his name out there. He had to stand behind something. He had to know what he was doing. And the biggest message that he talked to our kids was kind of funny, but he brought his tool belt that he brought every single day to work. And he said, students, he said, you are a tool. See, they laughed at that. But he said, you're a special tool. He said, you can go out there and find your special gift and use it to be the best you that you can possibly be. The last speaker that we've had come in so far this year is Adam Frederick. Adam came in a few weeks ago. He talked to our students, and he was talking about the communication piece and the problem-solving piece, taking it a step further. And he said, look, he goes, you have to communicate to get through school. You have to work on all these things. But when you go through school and you graduate high school, who are you going to become? And when you're working on becoming that person, what avenue of life are you going to go and you're going to start to pursue? Are you going to go into the military? Are you going to go to college? What is going to be your career? And he laid out all of the avenues, but again, he was talking about the problem solving and how to make it through life, and he was talking with our students in regards to that. So this year we're also going to bring in 1 to 2 more speakers later on this year to kind of wrap up those 3 things. But with all of that being said, every single day when students walk into our building, they see many of the signs throughout our building. This year we had those posted. These are the words that we want our students when they're walking around. And we've got 20 to 30 signs throughout our building. They're walking around and they're seeing these positive signs in their life. They're realizing, here's the 3 things that I need to be doing. And again, these aren't just the 3 things. These are many of the things that we have up there. But again, we have them in our building laid out. This year, we also started where we created a separate report card for our students. Every student gets the report card with their grades, but they also get a separate report card, and that separate report card reflects those 3 things. Every 9 weeks, all of our teachers put in a combined grade for that student. It goes in for each of those 3 things. It's not an A, B, C, D. It's a 4, 3, 2, 1. 4 being the highest, 3, 2, 1, obviously. And they get this separate piece of paper. So it says, do I have a can-do attitude? And it says, well, you have a 2. Well, that means you just have an average attitude. Or you have a 4. But they get this every single 9 weeks. Now, I say that was one of the things that I really wanted to do, is I wanted students to be able to see it. Our teachers this year actually took it a step further. This is talking about our teachers and who they are and what they're really about. They said to me, Mr. Flood, we love this. We think it's awesome, but we want it to be even more meaningful. So next year what we're going to do is every 9 weeks, again, our teachers are going to do the same thing they've been doing. They're going to take a step further. They are going to conference with each kid individually, and they're going to go through that, and they're going to ask them specific questions based off of the things that are revolving around those 3 pieces of information, doing their job. Now, when I say all this, and again, I'm going to have Mr. Parrish step up, but when you talk about our students and the teachers and the involvement, they're starting to get this buy-in. They're starting to use this verbiage. When we were on our Washington, D.C. trip, the very last day, I take a trash bag and hand it to one girl, and I'm on the other side. I have the trash bag, and I said, okay, race. Who could open it the fastest? Well, not being the smartest guy in the world, I flip the bag over to the perforated side. I try to open it. It doesn't open. And I'm ripping it. I'm like, God, I'm getting frustrated. And she said, Mr. Flood, finish. You have to have a can-do attitude. Mr. Parrish?
I just want to say I thank Mr. Flood and the junior high staff very much. The business community, which I deal with all the time, and the advisory council I have, recommended many things to me about what the junior high, not the junior high, but what the students need to have to be prepared to be good workers. And problem solving came out over and over and over again. The ability to communicate verbally and orally correctly came out. To have a positive attitude, and then attitude. And some of the things we teach very well, but the attitude part is how do we improve that and how do we do it? And Mr. Flood really took this by the horns because we thought, well, I can teach that to 17-year-olds. They have plenty of attitude. How are we going to change it? So we looked at ways to start at a much younger age at the junior high level, in 7th and 8th grade, and work at it. And we're adapting it. We thought we'd start there and we'd build upon it. And as they progress, we'll just keep adding and adding and adding. And we're going to add some ideas for adding, like I said, we're going to teach work with the teachers on some body language and how to sit, how to act in class, to encourage the kids how to sit. It'll improve their behavior and their performance, and we're going to hopefully work on that. And it'll change over so we don't have that laying on the desk and that attitude. So as you see at home, if you have teenagers, and hopefully we can improve that in the classroom, and we'll start that at a younger age, and that mindset will change also. And we're going to keep improving it. And hopefully the employers will see the difference, and we'll see that difference in the classroom too. And hopefully it'll put me out of the job. Well, I don't know about that, but that's what we're hoping for. Yeah. Thank you very much for raising that. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mrs. Bushonic with the One School, One Book.
Okay, lots of numbers. Some of you might have noticed a large rodent around recently, or a hamster. I'm going to turn this over, but I do want to recognize the ladies standing up here who have been our One School, One Book committee, along with Janice Kolar as part of that committee, and was very helpful throughout the process. Dr. Collins assisted us as well. It was a team effort. But Julie Suits, first grade teacher, Lori Lee, kindergarten, Marissa Passy, who were a little worried that we may not be able to give up. And Nora Elliott. They've really done a fantastic job. I can't say enough about the community who really embraced it, I think. I heard a rumor that PetSmart has sold out of hamsters as of Friday. When I talked to Patty, she said you had quite a few people coming and looking for a hamster, which may not be a good thing, John. Hopefully it was. But I want to thank these ladies, the community. She's not here because her son Ben has a fever, but Mrs. Lane, Amy Lane, did an amazing job. She really reached out to the businesses in the community. She did so much, I can't say enough. She did our little hamster cage in the hallway. And so, and these are the experts right here. Yes. We have a PowerPoint.
So we were just so thrilled with how Humphrey sort of took off and exploded for 3 weeks through the primary building. And we put together a PowerPoint with a bunch of pictures just showing a little piece into what it was like having Humphrey at the school. So this very first slide shows the day that Humphrey was introduced to everyone, and riding Mr. Atlas's Zamboni into the gym was definitely...
Somebody had to have lessons to drive around.
That did happen. And then after the assembly, we had a hamster, Humphrey, that just was going around Buckeye, causing a bunch of chaos, having a lot of fun. You can see Deputy Gerard's car is in one of those, and everyone was really thrilled to play along with us on that.
I heard Deputy Gerard was catching a lot of grief from people, and he said firefighters and police. So.
There's a really funny video on Facebook if you head to the primary page where he is chasing Humphrey around his car. This Humphrey A and Humphrey B were our two hamsters that rotated through all of the teachers' classrooms over the course of 3 weeks, and they're actually still going on because we had a couple of snow days. But they were just over the moon with getting to have the actual hamsters in the room, even though they were nocturnal. It was still very exciting just to have the cage, and they'd wake up and maybe nibble on some carrots and go back to sleep. But it was really fun to have them in the room throughout the day. And these were just some Humphrey pop-in pictures where randomly through 3 weeks, Humphrey would knock on the door and show up in your classroom, maybe unexpected, and he also showed up at bus duty and car duty, and just kept the excitement really going for everybody over the course of that time. Mr. Morgan, we are so thankful that he was able to be our surprise reader at the library on February 2nd. So we really pushed that. We had 2 chapters to read that weekend. We were a little nervous about assigning one on a Saturday, but the turnout was great, and Humphrey even showed up, and they were able to listen to him read chapter 11, yes, at the library that day. So thank you for that.
Which will be later this morning.
And we told the teachers when this first kicked off, we don't want this to be any additional work for you. We want to make sure that this is something that is for like the families in the community, but the teachers just ran with it, and it was great. So Ms. Elliott was actually one of them, and she had a traveling Humphrey, and that's what you can see. These are her students, I believe all of them, in the picture, and then one is here to talk to you guys tonight. Actually, we can actually do that now. Yeah. on our Facebook page, the Buckeye primary page, parents have just been posting all the different adventures that Humphrey's been going on, from wrestling tournaments, to movies, to opening Christmas presents, guitar lessons. I know he was at the Panic at the Disco concert a couple weeks ago. Daisy meetings, Girl Scout meetings. He's been getting custom clothes made for him. I know he is a huge celebrity. These are just parents' posts that they put up on our page sharing what they've been doing. And we couldn't even put all of them. These are just a snippet of what was actually up. Yeah, good eats. He had prime rib one night. That was like, wow.
Oh, there it is.
There it is. That's a prime rib dinner. So he was thanked by the high schoolers for our snow day. I know, at one point. So, Humphrey hunting. That was a term that kind of popped up once Humphrey had his own Facebook page. He actually is up to almost 160 friends now on Facebook. So, he's got a lot of friends, and parents have been saying over the weekend that Humphrey was going on, they were going on Humphrey hunts. So, we had businesses involved, and if they went and found Humphrey at a business, they were able to get a trivia ticket. And Paxton was going to tell you guys about some of the places he went.
I went to the gas station and went to the gas station and started. The bookstore, Honey Bakery, Chill, Buckeye Library,
So he said he was able to go to 9 places, and then what did you tell him there? He was one of the trivia winners after his Humphrey hunt, so that was very exciting. And then these are pictures that parents posted of them on their Humphrey hunts going all over the place on either after school or their days off on the weekends, which is very, very exciting.
And this is Sophie Brigam, and she is going to talk to you about what she did with her family, with Humphrey, and how she read with them.
So I got this and made it together. I said Humphrey is funny and he is cute. So
That's a kindred one.
We did this in class. This was our directed drawing, and then they wrote sentences, and then tell them about how you read it on the demo.
For the coloring contest, Mrs. Watkins made about 50 of those for all the coloring contest winners.
And it was nice in kindergarten that we were able to make text-to-self connections. And we're now reading another chapter book from Humphrey, and the kids are telling me if it says the custodian, they say, oh, we know who that is. So they're able to start making the connections to other textbooks.
This is Aiden Lowe. Aiden's a first grader in my classroom, and he's going to talk a little bit about some of the things that we did here at school.
we had a public assembly where there was a trade problem with it. He snuck behind Mrs. Cushon when she didn't know. He drove the floor cleaner into the gym. We had a Humphrey display in the hall. On the way to lunch one day, was in Pete reading the book, and there was a sign that said he understood.
He was making everyone laugh, wasn't he? Thank you. So we just wanted to finish it off by saying a huge thank you to all of the families, the staff, the committee, and our businesses, of course, which were a huge part of keeping these sites going over the course of 3 weeks, and we're just really happy with how everything turned out. Thank you.
I would like to present Principal Knapp. Come forward. We have from the State Board of Education, we have a letter and an acknowledgement for the overall A award, and I just want to read the letter from Tessa Elshoff, who is the president of the Board of Education for the state of Ohio. Dear Principal Knapp, congratulations. I'm honored to notify you Ohio State's Board of Education has granted Buckeye Intermediate School its overall A award. As an overall A award winner, Buckeye Intermediate School's report card shows your school is demonstrating high academic performance in building bright futures for students of every background and ability level. Congratulations on this impressive achievement. Ohio's strategic plan for education, Each Child, Our Future, is the state's plan to ensure each student is challenged, prepared, and empowered for his or her future by way of an excellent pre-kindergarten through grade 12 education. Our mission is to prepare students for a future that has yet to be written. Many consider this to be a daunting endeavor. Your education team, however, has clearly embraced this challenge. I want you to know how much we appreciate your leadership and the dedication your team has providing a high-quality experience for all students. Please share our gratitude with all those who contributed to this accomplishment. Thank you for all you do for the students and families you serve.
Congratulations to the intermediate staff.
Continue with the informational items. We have our late arrival tomorrow, Wednesday, February 13th. And we have no school on President's Day or Monday, February 18th. The Buckeye Hall of Fame nominations, we're looking for those nominations to come in. We have 5 categories: academic career, athletics, cultural performing arts, major donor, and special honorary. Nominations can be found on the Buckeye School website, and the deadline for nominations is April 1st. And the last item is we have our Buckeye Day. It is going to be on March 2nd, and that will go from 10 to 2. And if you have any interest in getting a table or presenting your organization, please contact the board office.
Before we move on, there are still some little people left, and we want to thank you for coming, but please don't feel like you need to stay for the whole meeting.
Thank you, though, for coming tonight. It's very interesting.
We'll move on to superintendent's recommendations.
Item A, junior high field trip. Recommended to Buckeye Board of Education approve a field trip for Buckeye junior high students to Cleveland, Ohio. The day trip is scheduled for May 10th, 2019. Cost of the trip is $78 per student. There is no additional cost to the district. Appendix C. Item B, architect agreement. Recommended to Buckeye Board of Education approve a letter of agreement between Buckeye Local Schools and FMD Architects for the roof replacement at Buckeye High School. Appendix D. Item C, sale of buses. Recommended to Buckeye Board of Education approve the disposal of the following buses no longer usable for school purposes. Bus number 11 of 2001 International and bus number 12 of 2001 International. Item D, approval of MOU. Recommended to Buckeye Board of Education approve the memorandum of understanding between the Buckeye Board of Education and Buckeye OC Local 216 in regards to the position of mechanic, Appendix E. Item E, approval of job description. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve the Director of Operations job description, Appendix F.
Thank you. A motion for these recommendations? Second?
Second.
Any questions or comments on these items? Roll call, please.
Stahl?
Yes.
Savarchi?
Yes.
Mattson? Yes. Parker?
Yes.
Yes.
Item F, final reading of the following policies. Recommend that the Buckeye Board of Education approve the policies listed below as presented. Copies of the complete policy are attached to board members' agendas as Appendix G. Number 1, Policy 1541, Termination and Resignation Administration. Policy 1662, Anti-Harassment Administration. Policy 2111, Parent and Family Engagement. Policy 2260, Non-Discrimination and Access to Equal Educational Opportunity. Policy 2700, School Report Card, we are rescinding that one. Policy 3122, Non-Discrimination and Access to Equal Educational Opportunity, Professional Staff. Policy 3140, Termination and Resignation, Professional Staff. And Policy 3362, Anti-Harassment, Professional Staff.
A motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions on these policies? Roll call.
Parker?
Yes.
Mattson? Yes. Savarchi?
Yes.
Stahl?
Yes.
Duncan?
Yes.
Item G, final reading of the following policies. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve the policies listed below as presented. Copies of the complete policies are attached to board members' agendas as Appendix G. Number 1, Policy 1521, Administrative Pre-Employment Drug Testing. Item 2, Policy 3120.02, Professional Staff Pre-Employment Drug Testing. And number 3 is Policy 4120, Classified Staff Pre-Employment Drug Testing.
And I understand we have a need to table these for further information. So we'll do that. Yes, I move that we table these policies until we get further information. Roll call.
Duncan?
Yes?
Stahl?
Yes.
Savarchi?
Yes.
Mattson? Parker?
Yes.
Item 14, new business. Item A, first reading of student curriculum approval. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education review the novel To Kill a Mockingbird for a high school English submitted by Dr. Christina Collins. A copy of the novel is available for board members for review upon request. Item B, first reading of student curriculum approval. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education review the novel of Mice and Men for high school English submitted by Dr. Christina Collins. A copy of the novel is available for board members review upon request. Item 15, personnel. A, certified personnel. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve the following certified personnel items as presented. Number 1, approval of curriculum work. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve payment for curriculum work to be completed during the summer of 2019 by the following teachers: Sue Abraham, Crystal King, and Marla Nunn. Payment for the additional hours will not exceed $200 per employee. Item 2, approval of additional hours. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve payment for the additional hours of the Buckeye Title I tutors who will plan parent literacy training for and provide training during Buckeye Day on Saturday, March 2nd, 2019. Maria Colapetro, Jeremy Smosky, and Matt McMullen. Payment will be made through federal funds and will not exceed $200 per employee. Item 3, contract change. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve the following contract change for salary purposes for additional educational credits for the following employee effective February 1st, 2019. Jody Keith from VA to VA plus 15, step 25. Item 4, resignation. Recommend that the Buckeye Board of Education accept the resignation of Tonya Campo-Benedetto, junior high counselor, effective the conclusion of the 2018-19 school year. Item B, certified substitutes. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve the attached list of certified substitutes / tutors recommended by the Medina County Schools ESC to work on an as-needed basis for 2018-19 school year. A copy of the list is attached to board members' agendas as Appendix H. Item C, classified personnel. Recommend that the Buckeye Board of Education approve the following classified personnel items as presented. Item number 1, resignation. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education accept the resignation of Shannon Bodock, 4.25-hour paraprofessional playground aide at Buckeye Elementary, effective 2/7/19. Item 2, resignation. Recommend that the Buckeye Board of Education accept the resignation of Henrietta Wood, head cook, effective March 1st, 2019. Ms. Wood's resignation is for the purpose of retirement. And I would just add that she will be completing her 39th year here at Buckeye, and we certainly thank her. She's a wonderful person, and she's definitely to be missed. Item 3, resignation. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education accept the resignation of Claudia Davis, paraprofessional, effective June 1st, 2019. Ms. Davis' resignation is for the purpose of retirement, and she is also finishing 27 years at the end of the school year, and she also is a wonderful person, and she's also going to be missed. And we thank both of those employees for the commitment to Buckeye, and we wish them the best in their retirement. Item D, classified substitutes. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve the attached list of classified substitutes to work on an as-needed basis for the 2018-19 school year as presented. Item E, supplemental contract approval. Recommend the Buckeye Board of Education approve the following supplemental contracts pending certifications as well as resignations effective for the 2018-19 school year as listed.
A motion for these personnel items? Second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? Roll call.
Mattson?
Yes.
Savarchi?
Yes.
Stahl?
Yes.
Barco?
Yes.
Kaufman?
Yes.
Item 16, donations. Recommend that the Buckeye Board of Education accept and recognize the following donations to Buckeye local schools as presented. Item A, HP Color LaserJet M456DN laser printer and black toner cartridge at an estimated cost of $359.99 from Adam and Ashley Mooring for use by the athletic department to print off award certificates. Item B, 2 hamster cages and supplies at an estimated cost of $200 from PetSmart to be used by Buckeye Primary to promote the One Book, One School program. Item C, monetary donation supporting Top Scholar and Art Club programming from BLEA.
A motion for the acceptance of donations? Second? Roll call?
Stahl?
Yes.
Barco?
Yes.
Savarchi?
Yes.
Mattson? Kaufman?
Yes. Board comments. We'll start. Mr. Barco, would you like to start tonight? I ought to start? I never get to start, that's right. Well, first of all, I want to thank the Buckeye Primary folks. I know your teachers have gone, and their students. I thought the whole program, One Book, One School, One Community, was wonderful, and I absolutely love the story. I don't know who chose that book to begin with, but when I read it, it had such a wonderful message in it. And I just loved it. I thought it was a great choice, and I know the kids enjoyed it, just by the comments of my grandchildren. I know that.
One of them is in for the drama, too.
No, Buckleman Farms only does cows, no hamsters. And I wanted to thank Henrietta. I have known Henrietta almost my whole life. And I had the pleasure of being a teacher for her son, William. And so I knew her as a mom first before a co-worker. So thank you so very much for all you've done for Buckeye Schools. And now, Mr. Barco, it is your turn.
Well, I would just like to congratulate you, Henrietta, for getting to that retirement. Hopefully it is a great time, and anytime that someone can stay with a job and do so much for the students. Claudia was 27, and Henrietta 31? 39, excuse me. Cut some off. But thank you very much for what you did for our children here.
Well, I have enjoyed working for Buckeye for many years. Never had any problems. I loved it. Thank you.
And I'd also like to thank, from a business standpoint, what you're doing in the junior high. That is something that I think is very much needed. Sometimes students, you guys have seen this too, sometimes they come out and they have a little bit of an attitude problem as far as figuring out that they're there to work and not play. But I very much appreciate that you're working that in the junior high. Thank you.
Mr. Stahl?
Humphrey, first of all, everyone said that was a great program. I'm very proud of that, and I can't wait to see what we do next year because it expands probably up a few grade levels. So, way to go on that. Kelly, nice job. That's awesome. It's very nice to see. Thank you so much for what you've done. Actually, very good time. Appreciate it.
All the staff.
Yeah, it's a good job.
I raised my hand.
Especially this one back here. Please stay back.
Mrs. Wood, thank you for all you've done. So you served me lunch many times. A few times when I didn't even have any money, you served me lunch. So I appreciate that for everything you've done. And everyone for coming, thank you.
Mrs. Bacarchi?
Well, like Barb, I've known Mrs. Wood practically my whole life. She is kind and helpful, and she is the kind of person that is a shining light at Buckeye. Truly caring for our children, making sure that they had the right meals, and every child was served. And I know that. I was in the office. She was in the cafeteria. We weren't too far away, and I certainly appreciate that, Henrietta. I know Buckeye will miss you tremendously, and Henry, you've been a special family member here at Buckeye. I feel the same about Claudia. I worked with Claudia for years down at Liverpool, and Claudia will also be missed, but you and I had more interaction just because of your position and my position. We were able to interact so much more, but I know Claudia did a wonderful job in the classroom with Betty, and I appreciate that also. And also Humphrey, gosh, did I love that. With 6 grandchildren reading the book, and I got to read so many of the chapters with them. That was just so much fun, and it wasn't just the book. The book had such a sweet message, and it was fun-filled and exciting, and he had his ups and downs, and they really enjoyed hearing the story. Mr. Flood, thank you very much for everything you do, and Mr. Parrish, thank you for what you're doing by inspiring the kids along with Mr. Flood at the younger age so that they understand that they're not very far away from taking that step. So I do appreciate it very much. So thanks to everyone for all you do. It's much appreciated.
I hate going last. I think because everybody said everything. Darn it. So, I just want to say, this was really a positive meeting. Thank you all for being here tonight. You get right down to the reading that we're going to have in the high school for English, the Phil Mockingbird and Vice and that. Just 2 great novels. I'm so glad that we're going back and reading great American novels. So it's just a positive meeting with everything that we talked about tonight. Finally, for Henrietta, it's the most important part of the night. Thank you. You literally had your hands in thousands of kids' lives that grew up here in Buckeye. So thank you very much for it's okay. Got me to win. Thank you all very much for being here tonight.
Thank you very much.
We do have a need for executive session for the purpose of employment, and so make a motion for moving to executive session?
So move.
Second? Roll call?
Manson, or Virgie, sorry.
Yes.
Manson. Stahl.
Yes.
Kunkelman.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
There will not be any action after executive session. So thank you all for coming.